Pretty in Pink is one of John Hughes' best films. It exemplifies Hughes' touchstones: snappy dialogue, great performances, and of course a classic 1980s soundtrack. And because the story is simple and direct, it confronts Hughes' issues with social class head on. Hughes' dialogue, like that of Richard Curtis or Wes Anderson or the Coen brothers, is unmistakable. His characters have the wittiest comebacks.
You know what an older woman does for me?
Changes your diapers.
They speak in metaphors. They are endlessly quotable. In the wrong hands, this could sound like everyone is a ventriloquist dummy, with Hughes puppeteering behind them. With the right actors, though, it comes off as a world that's just a shade sharper and more vibrant than the one we live in. And here, Hughes has the right actors. The romantic leads in this, Molly Ringwald and Andrew McCarthy as Andy and Blaine, both give heartfelt performances as the poor girl, rich boy couple struggling through class divides. James Spader is a little over the top as the slimy villain Steph, a quality which should serve him well in later roles in Boston Legal, Blacklist, and Age of Ultron, but it's the supporting cast who really make this movie shine. John Cryer gives the best performance of his career, maybe the only one of his which I honestly enjoy, as the volcanic misfit Ducky Dale. Manically insecure, crass, and a little out of control, Ducky is how every high school boy sees himself.
Well, you know, hot, dangerous.
Are you gonna go to class today?
Well, I don't know if I'm emotionally ready.
I'll go for it. It's virtually painless.
Hey, well, listen, I'll call ahead to the cafeteria and make a couple of reservations, you know, 2 by the window.
Sure.
Well, no, you don't like to sit in the sun. Okay, something else.
Annie Potts plays Andy's mentor, a quippy goth who finds herself babysitting all of the angsty teens. It's Annie Potts playing Annie Potts, but she fits perfectly in, and along with Cryer, she brings a lot of needed levity.
I mean, I'm old enough to be his mother, but when the duck laid that kiss on me last night, I swear to God, my thighs just went up in flames.
The greatest performance, though, comes from Harry Dean Stanton. Stanton was the sort of actor who could make every single film better. As Andy's heartbroken father, Jack Walsh, Stanton seems to have been transported from an Oscar-winning drama into this fluffy teen romance. Between this and Paris, Texas, he is undoubtedly one of my favorite actors of all time, and he has a lot of other great roles to check out as well. John Hughes soundtracks were iconic in the 80s, slightly underground Britpop songs that occasionally spawned massive hits.
Don't you forget about me.
Their consistency and quality are impressive, especially when you realize that Hughes went from collaboration with music supervisor David Anderle, who did both Breakfast Club and Pretty in Pink, as well as non-Hughes teen comedies Better Off Dead, One Crazy Summer, and Soul Man, to a seamless change in personnel to Tarquin Gotch, who did Ferris, Some Kind of Wonderful, Hughes' more adult-oriented comedies, and eventually began producing for Hughes on movies like Home Alone. But it all sounds like John Hughes. Hughes had a deep knowledge of British pop music, and made the music process extremely collaborative, sitting up late nights with his music supervisor and his staff, smoking cigarettes and spinning vinyl, looking for ideas. Pretty in Pink is one of Hughes' best soundtracks. It's packed with big names from the indie charts of the day: OMD, Suzanne Vega, New Order, INXS, The Psychedelic Furs, Echo and the Bunnymen, The Smiths. Even the more obscure names were players in important bands like Jesse Johnson of The Time and Danny Houghton of Three Dog Night. One of the best parts of the film is its honesty, and that's reflected in the music. At the time, music stores felt heavily segregated. Goths over here, Hessians over there, Trendies over here. In reality, though, alternative kids had interests outside of their niche. Goth queen Iona privately sings Barry Manilow in the shower. And Ducky Dale confesses that he was raised as a massive Otis Redding fan.
This is a very good tune. My mother used to sing this. This is Otis. I love Otis.
Which gives the film one of his best scenes. Pretty in Pink is one of John Hughes' most direct films dealing with social class. His protagonists are generally middle class in that fabulous Hollywood way. The Bueller family can't afford to get a car for Ferris, but they live in a palatial mini-mansion. The same goes for the McAllisters in Home Alone and the Page family in Trains, Planes, and Automobiles. We're expected to take all of it as normal. Hughes has to go out of his way to show that Cameron's family is considerably richer than Ferris's. The Frys seem to have lost their souls to their earthly wealth. In Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Neil Page's fantastic 1916 home is presented as warm, but not extravagant. This is normal. Del Griffith's life in motel rooms is the outlier, the emphasis on what Del doesn't have, not on what Neil does. Yet, a concern about social class always peeps out of John Hughes' scripts. Cousin Eddie in National Lampoon's Vacation, the snooty neighbors in Christmas Vacation, the contrast between the Ritz and the New York homeless life in Home Alone 2.
I'm not European. I don't plan on being European. So who gives a crap if they're socialists? They could be fascist anarchists. It still wouldn't change the fact that I don't own a car.
Hughes had economist Ben Stein do an impromptu lecture on the Laffer curve and supply-side economics in the
Anyone?
scene of Ferris Bueller. A lecture that's always baffled me, since the conservative Hughes has the notoriously conservative Stein emphasized to the class that cutting regulation and lowering taxes had failed in 1930. Pretty in Pink and its gender-swapped cousin, Some Kind of Wonderful, cut the subtext, and they take the social divide head-on. Andy and Ducky tour the rich neighborhoods of their classmates, with Andy vocally yearning for a house like the Buellers, the Pages, or the McAllisters. Iona lives in a cramped flat in Chinatown, presumably quite a commute from her north suburbs record store. Andy makes her own prom dress, Cinderella style, from bits of Iona's prom dress and a second-hand dress picked up by her father. She and Blaine make out in Blaine's father's stables. She's not quite ready to go in the front door of his mansion. And Andy and her dad live in a truly depressing little house by the railroad tracks, which she's ashamed of being seen in.
Will you listen to me? I don't want you to take me home.
Okay, why? What is the problem?
Because I don't want you to see where I live, okay?
You could call Pretty in Pink's handling of social class ham-fisted, and you wouldn't be far off, but my own experience of high school was similar. Little or no mixing across economic lines, with some of the poorer girls shoplifting to dress like the in-crowd. In the film, Iona is the first one to cross the social border. She falls head over heels for a yuppie, realizing for the first time that someone's emotional stability and character outweigh how edgy and cool they are. Andy is next, finding true love with Blaine, despite John Hughes' best intention. Hughes had intended for Andy to leave with Ducky, expressly stating that he didn't think class divides can be overcome. Test audiences hated that, though, so Andy and Blaine it was, and Ducky ends the film by getting come-hithered by the rich and cute Christy Swanson. I wonder a little if Andy and Blaine's final kiss being framed by a BMW was Hughes' sly way of reminding the audience that the social divide was still omnipresent. Pretty in Pink, however, is first and foremost a movie about frustrated passion.
I fall in love, Ace. You just won't like it. It's very complicated.
Jack Walsh has let heartbreak destroy his career, and is now letting heartbreak put his relationship with his daughter at risk. Iona is fed up with her own bad taste in men. Blaine lets family and peer pressure get in the way of true love, and Andy is caught in the crossfire. But Ducky, more than the rest, is the one who lays bare the total agony of love. The movie is perhaps best summed up in a shot, perhaps cribbed by Rob Reiner and Billy Crystal in When Harry Met Sally, where Ducky wastes his night tossing cards in a hat while the Smiths play in the background, a song Hughes reused for Cameron Fry a few years later. Good times for a change. See, the luck I've had could make a good man turn bad. So please, please, please let me get what I want this time. Lord knows it'll be the first time. As a movie about longing, romantic or otherwise, Pretty in Pink is pretty hard to beat.